Mages of Strixhaven, Unearthed Arcana 2021. Um, so this is another Magic the Gathering meets D&D setting that's coming out soon. This joins the likes of whatchamacallem, Mystic Ravnica. Oh wow, how could I forget Ravnica? And Mystic Odysseys of Theros. I'm going to rearrange my desktop real quick.
I have to say, I haven't played with the cards of this set, but I saw like their promo video for the set, and I was like, man, with all their pairing up, why can't they do this one? It looks cute. So I'm very happy about
I am
this
not terribly
announcement.
upset that they're doing Mages of Strixhaven, but I'm getting very like it's kind of become a default that any new Magic the Gathering setting is also going to become a D&D setting, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, there's some really... You didn't broadcast that, huh?
I mean, there's only, new settings every 1 to 2 years, and there's like 5 D&D books a year. It's not like it's that big an overhead.
Oh, I'm not... Like I said, I'm not terribly upset, but I'm kind of worried that that is going to be the standard of D&D is to promote Magic the Gathering, and the standard of Magic the Gathering is to promote D&D. Or something like that. I'm fine with like interconnectivity. Let me turn on streamer mode on Discord so the people messaging me on Discord don't beep randomly into the video the rest of the day. But still, hey, you know me, I love new content. I feel like this Unearthed Arcana, they didn't really plan to have the Strixhaven book released. That was 100% Amazon leaking stuff like Amazon does by accident for plenty of times. So I think that this UA was dropped a little bit early. So I'm trying to give it a little bit of some latitude. So now I've skimmed through it, and Zyziva is doing her first read through of it. So I'm going to go ahead and drop a link in the chat, or I'm going to have a link dropped into the chat. The background music you're hearing, well, Zyziva's not hearing it, is not provided by Sirenscape for once. This is just a copyright-free Twitch and chill, royalty-free background music thing I found on Spotify. There's Zyziva's little dragon. Hello, little dragon. We should probably name that dragon at some point. It's Watcher, isn't it?
Well, no, that one's actually the Stein one from GM's Brew, the top of the Stein.
Yep.
We're gonna get Watcher art, real, authentic Watcher art, plus Valora.
That is true. I'm looking forward to that. And I did not refill my water mug, so I'm going to be having a dry throat by the end of this. Do not throw that at... Okay, I will... Mythical Kitchen! No, seriously, I'm 100% sure that Josh is a D&D player. I have seen him wear Cobalt Gym t-shirts. So I guess we should get on down to looking at this. So the theme of this thing is, and this is a radical idea. I'm not sure I like how they have presented it, but it's a subclass that's available to multiple classes. So if you're a wizard and you say take whatever one of the colleges is, the Quandrix College, since I can see that one on the screen. That replaces your subclass for, like, if you're going to be an enchanter or a transmuter or the best wizard subclass of all, the Order of the Scribe. If you are a bard, it would replace your bardic college. If you're a druid, it would replace your druid circle.
Though for note, it's only for full casters, this whole expansion.
Yeah, there is no fighter, even with Eldritch Knight. Sorry, fighter mains. There's no monk. There's no barbarian. I'm hoping that there will be something to
I mean, there's not even like half or quarter casters like Ranger.
Yeah, no ranger, no artificer, nothing like that. I'm hoping that they will include something for people who don't want to play a main caster, but I mean, kind of, this is like, signing up to play Dragon Heist and then bringing a character that doesn't want to run a tavern. My music stopped. There we go. Anyway, where was I? So, we're this is, of course, playtest material. This is all going to be changed. I imagine a lot of this is going to be changed because there's a lot of it that needs to be changed. I'm sorry, Wizards. This details 5 subclasses: Lorehold College, dedicated to pursuit of history by conversing with ancient spirits and understanding the whims of time itself; the Prismari College, dedicated to the visual performing arts and bolstered with the power of the elements; the Quandrex College, dedicated to the study and manipulation of nature's core mathematic principles; Silverquill College, dedicated to the magic of words, whether encouraging speeches that uplift allies or piercing wit that derides foes; and Witherbloom College, dedicated to the alchemy of life and death and harnessing the devastating energies of both. So, I mean, clearly, this is part of my issue with this getting so many Magic the Gathering based settings, is we're clearly locked into that 5 colors of magic system.
And I didn't actually get to play with these cards, so I'm not as familiar as to like which colors align best with which colleges,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
neither Zyziva and I have played with Strixhaven. We barely played Magic this past year just because um, we weren't allowed to leave the house for 8 months because plague.
It's not that we weren't allowed, it's that we were being safe and considerate.
So anyway, so using these subclasses, choosing this subclass as I went over, um, this replaces whatever subclass. If you're a warlock, it replaces your patron, which I honestly do not hate the idea of an academic model as your patron, having gone through classes. Last 2 classes, starting August 23rd. And it definitely...
And how that expresses itself, like when you're in classrooms, would be interesting. If you're like teacher's pet and you sit up front, or if they have like if you like know all the school's spirit songs, like how that patronage expresses itself. If you're like the person who just knows everyone at the college, that would be an interesting role-playing aspect.
I could definitely see warlocks being like the prep clique. I don't know if you had prep cliques in your high school or whatever, but they're the people that join the cheerleading and run the bake sales and strongly encourage you to attend the I don't know, assemblies, I think they were called.
Rallies,
That's it, rallies. So you're like, my first thing was like, wait, how are they doing this? Because every class, or almost every class, gets their subclass abilities at different levels. I mean, warlocks get theirs at first level. Druids and wizards get theirs at second. Bards get theirs at third. So apparently, how they have done this is they have essentially gone like, well, at level 1 plus, you get this feature. So whenever your subclass would give you a feature, then you look up your magic school subclass and you find one that is available to you at that level and you choose that.
you know, it's weird because by that standard, when I went to computer science college, I became a prep.
That sounds accurate. Anyway, um, so yeah, so if, like it says here, for example, to gain a feature noted as level 6 plus, your character must be 6th level or higher in the class for which the subclasses was chosen. And I mean, already you're going like, but Gyrnos, what if I'm multi-class and take the same subclass? Well, they covered you by saying you can't. However, they did not say that you can't do a different college. Which, I mean, almost every one of these is available to wizards and warlocks, so.
They actually cover that by saying that you just have to meet the level requirements in each one. So, like, if you pick a level 1 from one and a level 6 from another, or you could pick a level 1 and a level 1. They get into it a tiny bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you can't, like, you know, do Mage of Lorehold for both a bard and a wizard. Which, I mean, why would you want to? But you could. I mean, there's some people that, like, get the wish spell and the first thing they start thinking about is how to break the game.
They might want 2 statues.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get into that. In fact, let's just go ahead and dive right into
That's,
that.
I mean, that's right off the top of my head. That's why you might want to take that subclass twice, and that's why you can't.
Well, here's the thing: you can still. Well, here, let me just go ahead and explain the Ancient Companion. So, the Mage of the Lorehold is available to bards, warlocks, and wizards when you would normally pick your subclass. By default, when you get this subclass, you get the Lorehold spells, which is nice. It's always nice to have extra spells added to your spell list, because it makes your character more unique. And honestly, I don't hate this spell list. Knock and locate object are very useful for like a character that is focused on researching the ancient past, and I could see an anthropologist or an archaeologist taking the subclass.
I thought it was kind of neat when they added that extra spells in for backgrounds when they added the Ravnica stuff.
Yeah, I like
So
that.
you have more options for customizing that way too, based on your background. I kind of hope they keep that up with non-Magic the Gathering, content to kind of do that as an additional option going forwards.
It would definitely be nice. So these spells are very centered on getting access to places, exploring, and learning things, which is not bad. It fits very well with like in a group that would want to be doing some research, especially that legend lore at 9th level. Let's see here now. The other half is Ancient Companion, another reason to not play a base Beastmaster Ranger. And I have to straight up say, every time we get something like this, it just more and more emphasizes the serious missteps that we're taking with the default Beastmaster Ranger. And honestly, it upsets me a little that they have just straight up refused to admit, yeah, we did a bad job with this class and we're trying to fix it. I always prefer it when people own up to their mistakes as opposed to saying, well, we're giving you other options.
I mean, I don't want to delay too much at the start, but I want to say in a different setting, like a magical college, stuff that normally has a higher barrier of entry, like legend lore, might just be a matter of getting a special library pass to go check stuff out. Like you might be able to go get 4 ivory bars for a week or less based on your, you know, access card or something.
Yeah, there's definitely some level of access stuff. I mean, there's as much going to the instructor and like, hey, can you help me with this research project?
And the fundamental concept here, of things like like buying spell scrolls and copying spell scrolls, you're going to have students all over the university with differing spell books and stuff.
Yeah, I am 100% if we ever do run this, resurrecting the glorious guild of scribes and scroll makers from one of my personal games, which is manned by 4 Kinku, named Scratches, Scribbles, Sigh, and Scratches, Scribbles, Sigh, and Shuffle.
Like, I mean, it would vary a lot by DM, but this type of setting could just have really different fundamental aspects of how people interact with equipment and how people interact with learning in general. And that's something that has me really excited about the setting.
Very. I like the idea of it. I am honestly a little worried that it's going to be just a rehash of the patrons rule from Tasha's and Eberron. But even if that is the case, a more in-depth look into how a magic school patron would work would not be a bad thing. And Ancient Companion, however, man. Basically, you have a statue, and once per short rest or long rest, you choose what kind of spirit you shove into the statue, whether it is a healer, a sage, or a warrior. Which, I mean, honestly, yeah, if you're playing a party of arcane spellcasters and you don't have anyone to heal, having a healer or someone to stand in front and take the hits does not hurt.
But who's going to carry the statue in between?
I mean, it's you can animate it on a shorter or long rest, so the statue can carry itself and everything else for you.
I guess if you lose your statue for a while, you're camping there because a statue is really heavy, and they're not letting the artificers into these groups with their level 2 bag of holding.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I could see this working very well with one of the ones later that is all about elemental expression as art, as like using earth shape and mold stone or whatever to create statues. But
That would be that would be cool. And it would be another kind of thing that shapes the world. Are there just more statues out in the world because they're a thing that people can just pick up and animate and take with them? Are there less from like backlash against mages or not wanting to have an insecurity a security issue of like having a statue inside your courtyard that someone could just animate and walk in, you know?
yeah.
Like how that aspect alone affects, you know, your campaign world as a DM is a big thing.
Oh yeah, no, this is definitely like the amount of access you give to it, and frankly, if I was DMing and something actually happened to the player's statue, I would maybe make them go without a statue for a little bit before letting them get another statue. Just say like, hey, this is a challenge, and then all of a sudden, instead of just going like, oh, your statue broke, oh, you have a new statue by morning. But the statue has the standard thing that we've been seeing lately of friendly to you and your companions, obeys your commands. In combat, the companion shares your initiative count, but it takes its turn immediately after yours. This has become the new standard we've seen for a lot of stuff. Huh. The mouse is doing something weird. Anyway, this
Yeah,
is...
it's a lot like the summon spirits and Tasha's.
It's like the Summon Spirits and Tasha's. It's like a couple of the revisions that we've seen, like for the spirits of Earth and Air, that the that the optional Beastmaster Ranger can get. It can move and use its reaction on its own, but it only takes the dodge action unless you take a bonus action on your turn to command it to take another action. That action can be one of its stat block or some other action. If you are incapacitated, the companion can take any action of its choice, not just the dodge. See, I like that, but I also really dislike it because why is it waiting for me to tell it to attack something if it sees me fighting? If it's clearly I am attacking something, why is it just standing off there dodging attacks, waiting for me to go a sick 'em every turn? So that's why, as a DM, I generally will default to allowing players to go, I command it to attack X, and assume that it will continue to attack X every time, because, I mean, this is a humanoid spirit. It has an intelligence of apparently 14, so it's smart enough to recognize a complicated order. I mean, I've seen dogs trained to do some complicated stuff, and I think the default intelligence for dogs is something like 5. So that is my advice to people with this. Use your bonus actions to tell it, attack what I attack, defend X target, or some other contextual thing. If your DM doesn't allow you to do that, then I don't know.
And
Arm
maybe they're
wrestle them.
just trying to honor, you know, just like, oh, what is it with the turn economy? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the turn economy. Yeah, I understand that, but honestly, wizards don't have a lot to do with their bonus actions anyway. So if you want to give it granular orders every turn, that's actually more useful for a wizard than anything else you can do with your bonus action, unless you're casting Expeditious Retreat. Expeditious Retreat is a great bonus action spell. Go ahead.
Well, that class is Bard, Warlock, and Wizard. So Bards have a lot with their bonus action.
Yeah.
So we don't want to forget, you know, it's not all wizards. In fact, one of these schools can't even be taken by a wizard.
Not all wizards. Anyway, as an action, you can touch the Ancient Companion and expend a spell slot of first level or higher. The companion regains a number of hit points equal to 10 times the level of the spell slot expended. That is huge. That's like 20 HP if you expend a second level slot in.
It's way more than you can heal the player for that slot level.
And let's see here now. Companion perishes when it drops to 0 hit points, when you bond with a new ancient companion at the end of a short rest or long rest, or when you die. When the companion perishes, the spirit within returns to its plane of origin and the statue becomes an inert object. So the stats for the spirit, 14 AC natural armor plus 2 warrior only. I would let my players put armor on it. It's like how I would let my players put a zombie in a breastplate if they wanted to. It's contextual, but it works. 5 plus 5 times your level in this class. The companion has a number of hit dice equal to d8s equal to your level in this class. So that thing's pretty
beefy.
That's pretty beefy. That's better than a lot of like the Beast of Air, I think, and the Beast of Water. Decent stat bonus. We're seeing proficiency bonus, the PB, used in a lot of stuff, a lot more stuff nowadays. And I think we're going to see that as the standard, as opposed to stat equal to your modifiers. I honestly think that at some point we're going to see strength 14 and so on be done away with entirely, and we're going to see things like strength plus 2, dexterity plus 3, wisdom minus 1. Just because the numbers, while iconic, tend to confuse a lot of people. And they've honestly have been pushing the whole standard array, which has a set number of bonuses. Let's see here. Ancient Fortitude. If damage reduces a companion to 0 hit points, it can make a Constitution saving throw with a DC of 5 plus the damage taken. Unless the damage is taken from a critical, on a success, the companion drops to 1 hit point instead. Unlimited. And it does not grow. So this statue is very like, here, go stand in front of the stuff that's trying to kill me. Because
I mean, and a lot of people with this expansion are going to be playing the 5 classes that you can take to be in the school. So the parties are going to be a little limited. Wizard, Warlock, Sorcerer, Bard, and Druid. So campaigns that are around the source book, I mean, Druid can tank pretty well.
yeah.
But I mean, certain subclasses of Warlock normally could, but this is replacing those. So I mean, basically the tank role and the healing role will be probably very diminished, with the exception of the druids in your party, if you're playing the supplement. So I can see where a lot of this supplement is possibly geared to make up for that lack.
Yeah, there is definitely this is filling a role, which honestly is not a bad thing, because in some campaigns, like you don't have anyone who wants to play the healer, and you don't have anyone desperate enough to join a game to offer to play the healer, no matter what anyone else is playing. By that same rate, not everyone wants to be the damage sponge. However, the fact that it has a +4 con save at level 1 is really good for that Ancient Fortitude. This thing can take some hits. The Sage's Council, Skill Monkey, I don't see a Bard having any use for that. Wizard may find it useful, but I mean, plus Wisdom, they'll probably dump if they're not in most cases, but most wizards have decent intelligence, so that's not likely to be really useful to them. I would say I see Sage as being the least used. Let's see. Spirit Strike has some decent damage, 1d8 plus 2 plus proficiency bonus. The Healer'S Light. Wow. If you're within 15 feet of it, it'll heal you for 1d8 plus proficiency bonus. Well, it doesn't heal you. It gives you temporary hit points. Which is... that didn't come out across. Sorry, hon.
Less powerful than healing unless you're already at full.
Yeah. I mean, but still, every turn... Let me see. Is it everyone or... Chooses a creature it can see within 15 feet. Invigorating Light. The creature gains 1d8 proficiency bonus temporary hit points. So it's not going to get anyone up, but it'll give you a bit of a shield. But really, I see this as being like a tank replacement more than anything else. Especially with that Warrior's Protection, where if it's standing within 5 feet of a companion, um, it'll help you survive saving throws.
I mean, definitely, especially if you don't have a druid in your party, you probably want one person in the school to give you that, unless you're running like a really light Swift campaign.
Hmm. Okay, so then we have Lessons of the Past, which builds on. It varies depending on the spirit type you choose, and since you can change your spirit type with a short rest, you basically can choose whichever one is the most useful to you at the moment. The healer, your hit point maximum increases by an amount equal to your level in this class, and you gain the same number of hit points. When you regain hit points from a spell, you regain an additional 1d8 hit points. None of the classes that can take this are tank classes. If you're taking damage as a wizard, something is wrong and you need to get out of melee. Sage have advantage on ability checks using the Arcana, Nature, History, Nature, and Religion skills. These are all intelligence skills and are all on the wizard spell list. But they are also really useful for finding out information about what's going on around you, which is what this subclass is for. It's designed for delving into tombs and finding out about stuff about the past. Let's see. Additionally, once per turn, when you deal damage to a creature with a spell of first level or higher, you can add an additional 1d8 force damage to the creature. That can really stack. Yeah. And of course, the warrior, which is the one I assume most people are going to go to. If you use your action to cast a cantrip, you can make one weapon attack as part of the action. If that weapon attack hits, the target takes an additional 1d8 radiant damage. If you are a main caster and you are not a druid in animal form or like a valor bard, you should not be in melee combat unless you absolutely have to be. Let's see here now. War Echoes. I'm sorry, wizards have a d6 and by default dump con.
I mean, and still, if you have a party that's kind of light on HP, spreading it around instead of everyone running off in different areas and trying to be ranged while they pick people off one by one. I'd rather swarm an enemy, get some advantage and some melee in a situation if it gets tough.
I mean, if you have... Wait, can druids take this one or is this not druid one? Bard, Warlock, and Wizard. Bard and Warlock. I can see a Pact of the Blade Warlock using the statue as like a advantage fodder. Actually, that sounds really nice. That's like right up there with
I mean, when you have a low hit point group and you have melee opponents, you can't afford to all break off and get ranged separately, or you'll just get swarmed one at a time without an ability to heal or anything.
True, yeah.
You do have to adjust your strategy and become more offensive than you normally would think you are for that kind of class.
Okay. So, frankly, I see nothing super bad about the statue in of itself. I actually kind of like it. It makes... I just, every time I look at a companion feature like this, I have to compare it to the original Beastmaster. And the original Beastmaster just looks worse and worse, and so, yeah. But with this, my biggest thing I would say is I think the Ancient Fortitude is probably going to get nerfed a bit. Either being limited to a number of uses per day or having a scaling DC. Healer's Light, that's not healing, that's shielding.
I mean, it's no different than a zombie's ability.
Oh, fair.
Which isn't once per day. And as you level up, the DC of the 5 plus the damage taken, like, that gets harder and harder as it takes more damage and you level up. It's one of those things where it's really great, like levels 1 through 3, but it's not going to start breaking things once you get to 5th level.
Well, I mean, I think the maximum proficiency bonus is +6, so you would be rolling d20 +8 max, I think. versus con. So like I said, it's not unbelievable. I don't know. It strikes me as weird that it's unlimited and that it only has one thing that will bypass it. Because even the zombie has two things that bypass it.
Well, it's going to trigger less than half of the time, and probably, like,
Yeah. And I mean, it has some beefy HP, and it can be easily refilled with HP. So, I'm not expecting these things to go down anytime soon. My issue with Healer'S Light is that it's not healing; it's temporary HP. And so,
I mean, the fact that you can still heal it when it's at at 0 is going to probably have to be clarified.
yeah.
If that counts as you have to take a short rest and resummon it, or if you can still expend the spell slot and heal it when it's at 0. Like, I feel like that is the part that's going to need the most clarification coming up.
Yeah, there's some definite clarification that's coming up that's needed. But I mean, here's my question: like, can I? Will this thing? Does it have proficiencies? Like, it doesn't have weapon proficiencies, but can I still give it a magic sword and have it thwack people with it? So there's some questions and stuff, and I can see this being finagled with some creative player. But yeah, those are my two big things with that. The Lessons of the Past is a nice little level up feature, and the fact that it changes with your Ancient Companion spirit type is good. I like that. I question the use of some of them. But beyond that, Echoes of War. This is just straight up the Grave Clerics. You can give vulnerability to something. And I am so very glad that they require it to use your reaction and that you only have a number of uses per day. Because otherwise, it's basically here, just everything has vulnerability. But I'm fine with that as the Grave Cleric, and I don't feel like at level 10 plus, this is stepping on the Grave Cleric's channel divinity too hard. So I'm fine with that. Let's see. By pulling measure, force the target to make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failure, the target becomes vulnerable to one of the damage types. I mean, if you have a rogue in your party and your rogue is just critted a sneak attack, use this on them. Let the rogue roll the nice 100 plus damage at level 5, at level 10. Make your rogue happy. They walk in front of traps for you. This vulnerability lasts until the end of the target's next turn. So, it is most useful to use this on someone who is not going to have their turn for a bit, and who is likely to get hit. So if you give someone vulnerability to piercing damage after they've taken their turn, you want your friends to pile on piercing damage. So know what your allies can do when you use this.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the more preparatory schools. You have to drag a statue around with you. You have some management. It's not necessarily as preparatory as Quandrix is looking. Quandrix is very you're the planner and the schemer looking so far. I haven't finished reading all of them yet, but Lorehold is definitely one of the ones that you want to be good with doing extra management, extra initiatives, extra tracking and stuff when you take that one.
Okay, so the final one is History of Whims for Lorehold. Let's see. Though steeping yourself in the chaotic whims of history, you learn how to briefly channel the wild nature of time itself. As a bonus action, you can enter a state of chronal chaos. I just love some of the prose in this. It's so thick and juicy. When you enter this state and at the start of each of your subsequent turns while in this state, you gain one of the following benefits of your choice. Luck. You receive you receive blasts of the future. You receive brief flashes of the future, steeling yourself against oncoming assaults. Whenever you make a saving throw against an effect that deals damage, you can roll a d6 and add the number rolled to the total. I like that. I like anything that like gives you small little incremental boosts. I love Bardic Inspiration for that. I love Guidance. Oh my god, Peace Cleric is just so... Oh, yes, please. Let's see here.
And of course, the whole new reborn thing where you can roll that d6 and boost your skills. The knowledge clerics have something similar, like skill-wise, on that.
Resistance. You rewind time, knitting together injuries as they occur. You have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. So that's just flat resistance. It doesn't care if it comes from a magic source or not. That may get altered at some point to include the except for magic sources or something like that. I don't know. Otherwise, that's really nice, especially if you're a wizard who has somehow accidentally gotten into melee. Swiftness. Time stutters, slowing others but hurling you forward. Your movement speed increases by 15 feet and you do not provoke opportunity attacks. Bard would love that, I think. That lets you basically walk up to someone and ping a health in them if they need it. The benefit lasts until the start of your next turn. You cannot choose the same benefits 2 rounds in a row. The state lasts for 1 minute and ends early if you're incapacitated. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a spell slot of 4th level or higher to use it again. I really like the abilities recharge on expending a spell slot that we've seen coming out of Wizards of the Coast lately. I would love to see some stuff like that for sorcerers in more upcoming subclasses. So that was Mage of the Lorehold, and
For Bard, Warlock, and Wizard.
Bard, Warlock, and Wizard. We are. I'm going to be cutting these into like brief chunks and uploading them individually. So, we're talking about the Unearthed Arcana Mages of Strixhaven Unearthed. That just got released like, I don't know, 4 hours ago at this point.